The problem in Major League Baseball and somewhat in college, it's getting there, is that there's too many guys that never sniffed the field at a high level, but they think they know the game because they can look at a spreadsheet. Baseball used to be viewed as this like beautiful piece of art, and now we've turned it into a spreadsheet. You've turned the Mona Lisa into a spreadsheet. Level. This is why. All right, guys, so today we're going to talk about why I think, and I think some of you guys are going to agree with me on this from knowing you guys from watching my videos and being on stream, how batting average is still a very important stat when looking at a player and determining their value. Now, I'm not saying, again, at the highest levels of Major League Baseball now, this is virtually totally disagreed with. And even some levels of college baseball, more and more coaches that really don't have a lot of playing experience that are getting into the game are starting to kind of push this as well. The batting average, we don't need to look at team batting average or look at players' individual batting average. OPS is really the only thing that matters, or slugging percentage, on-base percentage, whatever. Now, I can give you situations where this is totally backed up, what I'm saying here, and we're going to get into that in a second. Remember, guys, if you're not subscribed, like 80% of you are not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button for us. Hit the like button as well. That helps us out in the algorithm, make sure more and more people see these videos. And ultimately, we have our QR codes, our ARM program, our hourly consulting, and our full-service recruiting advising. Scan one of those QR codes if you're interested. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about any of those. So, first situation, guys. We got runner at second, 2 outs, 9th inning. We are down by 1 run. Okay, so we're the home team. Our last chance to tie this thing up. And I'm going to give you 2 different hitters, slash lines, and I want you to decide who you think is the best guy to have at the plate. First guy, 230, no surprise, that's kind of what everyone hits in the big leagues now. He's got a 310 on base percentage, and then he's got a 520 slugging. So total, he's got an 830 OPS. And he's got a 30% strikeout rate. Okay, so this is hitter number 1. Now, number 2 is a 310 hitter with a 360 OBP and 410 slugging. So his OPS is 770. And he's got a 12% strikeout rate. So this is your contact hitter, not a lot of pop, really good batting average, good on base percentage, not as many walks because he's putting more balls in play. That's something a lot of guys don't usually understand, that a lot of your higher contact guys aren't going to have a biggest gap between their batting average and their on base percentage because they are getting more hits, right? So they're putting more balls in play. But I think this is a pretty obvious decision for any of you guys at home. In this situation, do you want a 230 hitter with a 30% strikeout rate? I would love to hear the arguments for it. Put it in the comments if you can come up with arguments that he's a better hitter to have at the plate than this guy. This guy's got 80 points higher in batting average, meaning he's essentially like 40% more likely to get a base hit than the 830 OPS hitter. He's more likely to walk, and we only have 1 out. So you want your best hitter at the plate, right? So you're going to go with hitter number 2, I would assume. Like I said, if any of you guys in the comments are like, I'm going with hitter number 1, Kyle, you don't know what you're talking about, let me know. But to me, this is the problem at a lot of levels of Major League Baseball, some in college now, as more and more of again, there's nothing wrong with analytics. But like I've told you guys before, the problem with analytics is you literally can make anyone look bad and you can make anyone look good. You can literally pick out the different numbers or whatever and say, oh, this guy's really good because of this, and then use those same numbers and say, well, this guy doesn't have it, so he's bad. I mean, that was kind of what was done to me in my career. It was like I was a high average, high on base, but low slugging player. And because I didn't slug, it was like, well, his slugging percentage is not good, so he's not going to be able to have success in the big leagues, even though there's plenty of guys that have done that. And the balls were juiced in the big leagues, so my slugging percentage would have been higher, but we'll get back to the video. This right here is a perfect example of why you want to have at least some hitters in your lineup that are high batting average hitters, and why batting average is an important stat. It's not a useless stat. Just like you can have an empty batting average where you don't create a lot of runs, you don't drive runs in, you don't score a lot of runs. The same is true with OPS, guys. How many guys are in the big leagues that are hitting 230 with like 25 home runs, and they've driven in 45? They've had 45 RBIs at the end of the year. Dime a dozen. That's like the average. That's like the average hitter in the big leagues now. They hit 25 jacks and they don't even drive in 50 runs. So is that guy actually valuable because he's got a high OPS? No. The OPS is not a metric that shows value. If you have a high OPS but you're not creating runs, you're not valuable to a team. And I've played with a bunch of these guys that got shots in the big leagues that, you know, when the game was tight and the best pitchers were in the game, worthless. Couldn't put the ball in play, couldn't get a job done, couldn't get a run in or move the runners, etc. Down 6 in the 8th, up 8 in the 8th. Man, they look like the best third in the world. They could bombs, doubles, triples, nobody on base, of course, so no one's scoring. But that's the problem when you just super fixate on a stat like OPS. You still have to look at all the contextual stuff around it. And if your guy is not creating runs, he's not valuable. And if this low OPS guy is creating a lot of runs, he is valuable. Right? Because runs are what wins games. OPS doesn't win a single game. The OPS stat does not win you a single game. The amount of runs that are scored win you the game. So let's look at the guys that are driving in the most runs and scoring the most runs and figure out if there's a correlation to the teams that win a lot. You guys can do the math for me. Now, what's another situation, and this is more on the mental side of the game, where you'd want a guy with a high batting average up? Think about it. Now, it could be a similar situation like this. It doesn't have to be the 9th inning, but think about a big situation in the game, 5th inning. Bases loaded, 1 out. Do you want a guy at the plate that's going to put the ball in play and get runs in? Or do you want a guy that's going to strike out? All of a sudden now you got one less out to get the runs in. There's so many situations, guys, that if you actually look at the game, that you don't want this guy up. Like this, there's so many situations where you don't want that guy up. Sure, is this guy great to have up with like no outs and a runner at first base? No pressure, nobody in scoring position, doesn't feel like because what these guys tend to do is they're really good with like nobody on and runners on first, or down big games or up big games. But when it's a close game or there's runners in scoring position and there's 2 outs and any kind of situation like that, these guys tend to fold. I mean, they're just not that kind of hitter. They're not a competitive hitter. They're not a clutch hitter. If these guys were clutch hitters, they'd be driving in 85, 90 RBIs a year. They usually don't. So what you'll find, guys, is batting average is important, one, in this situation in particular, because you need guys that can come up and can manipulate the barrel and find a way to fight their hands inside and still get a base hit. Or a pitcher makes his best pitch and you're still able to get enough of it to flare it into left field for an RBI. That's what wins championships. See, what you guys have been really brainwashed to believe is that, oh, the teams that hit the most home runs and have the most, this and that. No, if you watch the playoffs this past year, the Dodgers were so dominant. One, they have, of course, I mean, they've spent so much money, it's ridiculous. But they have guys like Freddie Freeman who can hit it out, but he's also not afraid to just hit a line drive into center field to get the run in. Or Mookie Betts, who's going to fight up there and in at bat. They don't have just power hitters. They have complete total hitters who are up there and going to fight tooth and nail to get the job done. They're not just a bunch of swing and miss, 40% strikeout rate guys that you see on a lot of these teams. So when you look at their numbers and their OPS, they're very valuable because they are hitting for high average. Freddie Freeman's one of the best hitters in major leagues. It's not that he hits 30 plus home runs a year typically. It's that he's hitting that many home runs and always seems to have 100 RBIs. It's crazy how like always the best hitters in the game always seem to have over 100 RBIs. And that's what I think the analytics crowd doesn't really give any weight to, is that it's not that the RBIs themselves were always seen as a super important stat. It was kind of that canary in the coal mine that usually guys with 100 RBIs next to their name tended to be some of the best players in the game. They tended to be the best hitters in the game. It's not that the RBI stat itself was like, this super valuable stat. It was just an indicator of, okay, this guy drove in 100 RBIs. You don't drive in, listen, this is what the analytics guys think, because they'll literally say this to your face. RBI is just a lucky stat. You just happen to get hits. You just happen to get hits with guys on base. Because they never play the game themselves. They never played at a high level. They don't realize when you're up at the plate with runners on second and third and one out, there's pressure. You're not at the dish with nobody on base. And the best hitters are better in those situations. Like, they don't believe in clutch hitters. Same thing. Again, if you've never played the game, you would have no idea. So I can understand why they think that. But the problem in Major League Baseball and somewhat in college, it's getting there, is that there's too many guys that never sniffed the field at a high level. But they think they know the game because they can look at a spreadsheet. It's like I told you guys. The reason all these old school guys like Jeff Fry are upset, it's not really because of analytics. It's because baseball used to be viewed as this like beautiful piece of art, and now we've turned it into a spreadsheet. You've turned the Mona Lisa into a spreadsheet. And so guys that spent years studying the Mona Lisa and understanding how it worked and understanding what different parts of it, now some guys who have never looked at it as a piece of art are just going down the spreadsheet and saying, oh yeah, well this is this. I understand it. That's not to say it's not important, but you guys understand the analogy. That's why there's this massive rift in baseball right now. And I think we've gone way too far to the spreadsheet side. And I think I would agree that we don't want to go too far to the Mona Lisa side, but we have to meet somewhere in the middle where we can use the analytics, but also not look at everything like it's a math equation when making decisions about building teams and situations in the game and what plays to run and what plays not to run. That's the issue. So I hope this helps, guys, with batting average. It's important. It turned a little bit into the analytics conversation as well, but let me know what you think. Maybe you think I'm an idiot. You think batting average is stupid. Let me know in the comments, guys. Again, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, scan one of these QR codes if you're interested. Be ready for our stream today, and I'll see you with another video tomorrow.